Um,
Great. Hello, I'm Paula Urick, and I am one of the co-chairs of the Lunch and Learn Committee. And it is my honor to welcome you all to the November 2025 program of the League of Women Voters Lunch and Learn. Please mute your audio and turn off your video so we can focus on our speaker. We use the chat function for questions, so please type your remarks there. We will monitor the chat and relay questions to our speaker. In case you didn't know, for over 100 years, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization and has encouraged informed and active participation in government, worked to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influence public policy through education and advocacy. Membership is open to all. For further information, you can go to www.lincolnleague.org. The League of Women Voters, Lincoln-Lancaster County is proudly nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government. Videos of previous lunch and learns are available on the League's website, again, lincolnleague.org. And now I hand over the mic to Amanda to introduce our speaker.
Thank you so much, Paula. I am the other co-director or the co-chairperson of the Lunch and Learn Committee. And today I am very excited to introduce Heather Nelson, the founder and CEO of Ideologics Insights, an Omaha-based data analytics platform that powers Poll the Vote. And the Poll the Vote piece is what is bringing us all here today, because it facilitates nonpartisan civic engagement by connecting community members to individuals and elected officials and candidates for office and business and community leaders. Heather launched this very quietly in January 2025, and it must not have been too quiet of a launch because now she serves 22 states. So today, Heather will share how you can safely engage with, provide your sentiment, and advocate for your interests, and especially as we gear up for the 2026 Nebraska legislature season and the 2026 midterm election cycle, this information will be valuable for us all to have. So Heather, thank you very much. And I will come back on the outside or on the end and help us navigate through the questions that appear in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that wonderful introduction of who we are and where we've come from here in the last year. It's been quite an amazing year. Well, hi everybody. As she said, I'm Heather Nelson. And by day, I'm a teacher. I tell people this wasn't something that I thought that I was going to find myself in. You know, in the world of education, we always ask people, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's interesting that I'm here today. I did grow up in a household here in Nebraska that was very politically informed. And I think that background has really helped me to be able to see how, we need to have good representation from people across all parties. So first and foremost, I want to make certain that everybody realizes we are an independent, nonpartisan platform. We facilitate now community and civic engagement both. That is a new thing that we just switched to. So I'll share a little bit about how that evolution came about. But first and foremost, pollthevote.com, it is free for all individuals to use across the nation. It's interesting because as I wrote my bio, it was 22 states, and today we're already in another 6 states for a total of 28. But our platform is responsive, so you can use it on any device, whether it's a PC, a phone, a tablet, and soon to be coming an app. I'm really hoping that we can have this out by January, but if we don't, that's okay. We'll get it out as soon as we possibly can. So to kind of share a little bit, we have done no paid advertisement, and I wish I had an opportunity to see all of you and could just have you put hands in the air of how many knew about Poll the Vote before I came here to speak with you. And you can see where Nebraska is starting to get greatly populated by people who have found out about us over the past year on different activities that we have supported. So we now have representation in all 49 senator state districts and plus those additional 28 states. Some of those states we are actively working with because whether it's their governor or their mayor or a particular elected official has reached out to us and said, hey, can we use this platform? So it is certainly nice to be able to see that we have some more states that will most likely be coming on board and be able to have their state populated like our state of Nebraska is starting to become. All right, so what can you do on Pull the Vote? First of all, this idea came to me back in about 2022. And I tell people I had three things that happened to me in a very near short time frame. First of all, I don't teach politics. I am a College of Business instructor. And I would have students who would come and ask me, how do I get registered to vote? Where do I get my trusted content from? And I absolutely sent them to the League of Women Voters. I do that as a trusted source. But I felt that if our students were asking me as a non-political speaking instructor, that this was something that we needed to help that generation to be able to get access to good information. The second thing that happened, if we think back to 2022, the Nebraska legislature had made the national news, and for the first time, it was talked about how it was being acrimonious was the word that was used in the news on the floor. I had come home from school one night and I had the news on, and I had seen a mom. She was testifying down in Lincoln. And I don't know, I said, I didn't know this mom. I have now since identified her and met her, but I didn't know who she was. I just knew that a single person needed help. They needed advocacy. I didn't know what bill she was talking about. But I was willing to look into how could I go down to Lincoln tomorrow? I can pull in a sub. I can go down and I can help her. I want to point out that my thinking was so backwards at that time that that's what led to this platform. When I say backwards, it's because I realized about, half hour after this news that I was seeing what had already taken place in Lincoln. And I started asking myself, how do we as normal people know when is a hearing? How do I register my comment and my feedback? A lot of people can't take off work and call in a sub and haul down to Lincoln to be able to participate in person. So this started to churn in my mind a little bit about how can we pull voices together and really understand what do the people of Nebraska want. Third thing, I had a bill that came personal to my family and my friends. And I started asking people around me, why don't our elected officials reach out to us in real time and ask us, what do we want? We hear them a lot as we come into an election, obviously. But once they are representing the people, we lose out on that ability to render our voice in real time and impact the front end of legislation creation. And taking all of these three things together, I woke up in the middle of the night about 2 weeks after I saw the mom testify on the news clip. And I had this very prolific dream. And in my dream, I had my phone in my hand. And it said, Heather, how do you want us to vote for you on this bill tomorrow? For or against? And I woke up 3:11 in the morning and I bought the domain name pullthevote.com. And yes, it is a running joke in our family. Heather should not be able to buy domains in the middle of the night because I buy a lot of them. But it goes back to how I was looking for a solution and I couldn't find one that, basically, let's say we could lasso everybody in the state of Nebraska and give people a trusted source. I'm not going to sell your information outside of the platform. That's not who we are. We do actually qualify for a patent due to the way that we iterated our software to be able to have your sentiment personalized, pixelized, and that we abstract off what your sentiment is. And then I can provide your elected official with your answer, plus in a totality of all the other people's answers without actually giving up your personal information beyond that. So first and foremost, pull the vote. We connect you to your elected officials. Our software simulates election night. We do what's called populist polling. So we're not a typical opposition polling company that you might see when you get a text or an email that says, hey, would you participate in this poll? And they will go in and do a sampling where they might talk to the typical average is 500 to 2,500 people in the territory. They try and get a sample that matches the demographic and persona makeup of the people in the bigger totality of the territory. And then they start to make the assumptions that based upon the smaller lookalike sample, that the entire area is going to be assumptively for or against. Well, our platform can do better. We're election night over here 365 days a year. That means that ideally, all 1.5 million people in Nebraska that are over age 15 can participate. And we can collect that feedback in a matter of seconds and minutes and have insight reports down to our elected officials. So, as she mentioned, we quietly launched last January in what we call a beta option. It's just a term for when a new software, a new platform wants to get on the market, but they want to test out, make certain that we have everything running correctly before we go full force. And that is what we did last year. Now, if those of you that have already opened an account, thank you so very much. You are all welcome to open up that free account. And I want to go over a little bit about what's going to happen in that onboarding process. We do ask a variation of personal information that is creating your persona based upon where your location is. So we know who your city council, your mayor, your state senator, all the way up to the US president. And then we can get a little bit of understanding of who you are because some bills are pertinent to a particular age group or a particular lifestyle, a particular party. And that helps us a little bit to provide information to your elected officials so they can get a little bit better view. I've actually had two state senators now comment that our data that we are providing them is actually better than the legislature's comment line when you go online and you're just providing your for or your against or your neutral testimony. The information that they are getting out of that is very small and very conglomerated, but we have the ability to provide a greater detail, which I'll show you here some of the reports we've been providing. But when you come on to pullthevote.com and have your account opened up, it looks a lot like Netflix. Again, I'm a college professor. My students understand Netflix. They understand Amazon Prime. And we certainly were trying to be able to figure out how can we create this platform that all generations would be able to use and understand. So this is our new platform, by the way, that we just came out with. So if you've already been a user on Pull the Vote and haven't been on in the last 2 weeks, please go out and take a look because we have completely changed the homepage. So this box in the middle, it is a carousel that works like a television. Eventually, we'll be able to have voice, so elected officials can come and speak with you through recordings. We are getting ready for live interface as well. So people can go live and come in and you can watch them on the television. You can participate in a town hall that you wouldn't be able to go to in person. And so we're pretty excited about where this definition is going. On the right-hand side are where you're going to get your announcements. So the organizations that are on Pull the Vote, by the way, we're about ready to hit 500 organizations across the nation already with accounts on Pull the Vote. Again, anything from elected officials to civic organizations to advocacy organizations, we're trying to use that connection thought process and bring everybody together into the platform. Okay, so this is one of the first things that we built, and it goes back to my students saying, Heather, who are my elected officials? I don't know who they are. So when you come in and scroll down just a tad bit, your first row is called My Governance, and these are all of my elected officials. This is proprietary to me, so every one of us are going to have a whole different environmental view based upon where our territory is and who are our officials. And I'm so excited. We just came out with the new upgrade 2 weeks ago. You can see at the bottom, there's a phone. So you can go through and you can click the phone. If you have a tele app on a device, it'll automatically ring out for you. If you're on a mobile device, it will just ring normally through your phone. And you don't even have to look up phone numbers. You could sit here and you could click and call all of your elected officials. And it doesn't stop there. You actually can access all of the organizations that are on the account. So if you wanted to say call all 49 state senators, You can do that right through the platform. If you want to talk to all of the US senators, you can certainly do that as well through the platform. Something that we did recently, and this was a response that we had from feedback that came in. So I want you to know, please, please, please always give us your feedback of new ideas. You wished it did this, or if something's not working correctly, is our tech team, our data analytics team is here in Nebraska. And we have the ability to make those changes and have some fun with it and be able to get information. But on the far right, you're going to see where there's a heart, and I have John Ewing right now hearted. And if I wanted to, I could actually mute him. I can't delete myself because he is my elected official. I am a constituent to him. But let's say that Mr. Ewing comes on and decides that he wants to use the platform to engage with us, and I don't want to hear from him. I can actually now mute him. So we've given the ability for individuals to decide who they want to hear from. And you can also tell me if you want to hear from them by text, by email, by both, or by neither. And that really puts the playing field into your hands of what content you want to be receiving. But this is definitely something that, even we go down to age 15. And my college students say to me, wow, this is great. I finally can see, I know who my people are. And these are active accounts. So you can click into them and you can read about your elected official. And each one is a office account. So if this elected officials are no longer in position, the next elected person will inherit the account. That means on day one, all of us as constituents are going to be plugged right into our new elected officials. And our new elected officials have a variety of tools they can use to talk back with us. So I want you to think of anything you can do on Facebook. If you want to create a newsletter like through Constant Contact or MailChimp, or if you want to use a system like SurveyMonkey, we have started to take all those tools and features and put them right here into one platform and attached their verified constituents to them. So I'm really excited that we're having more and more elected officials take ownership of their administration account so they can visit with you directly. All right, we also just took the election or your elected official section and we mirrored it now for the candidates. So this is just basically in its infancy, but you now have several candidates from commissioners. We have some OPPD people coming on board. We have state senators, US senators, people running for Congress. And the cool thing that I like about this election, I was one of those gals who I would create a little Excel spreadsheet and I would go and I would research my candidates. I would want to know their background, their party, their causes, and really come to a good decision of who I thought was going to represent my ideologic preferences best. I started having friends and family that would say, could you share that with me? Well, I kind of took that preparation that I went through to prepare for my ballot, and I've started to put it into this situation where I want our candidates to be humanized. I'm calling it candidate season. I don't want them to just call on us one time and be gone. I want to learn and know who these people are and exactly what are they going to be representing us for? What are their priority points? So inside the candidate accounts, they have the same tools. They can send us announcements. They can let us know when their public meetings are, town halls. They can talk to us by pre-taped video. They can create newsletters. They can send out a digital town hall. They can do a full poll of you. You can see on the fourth one in Jaden Speed, he's running for Legislature District 2. Remember, I am nonpartisan, so I'm not necessarily promoting or endorsing him. I'm just using him as an example. But he has activated his poll, and he has a poll that's running out for District 2. He's had many people. In fact, he has 4 times the amount of followers now on the platform from District 2. I know some of you might be in that particular area because it's this organization kind of overflows into that territory. And if you haven't taken his poll, I encourage you to do so. And I hope all of the candidates from LD2, regardless of party, come on board and start to use it. But we don't allow typical advertisement. So you're not going to see attack ads. We don't allow them to be negative. So they cannot call out their candidates. this is a platform where they get to tell us about them. It's a job interview is the way that we've set it up. And I'm pretty excited about having it just be a positive place for us to learn. But later on, I'm going to show you a little bit about Jaden's poll. So we'll time out and come back to that. We also have public interest organizations that are on board here in Nebraska. You can see that we have the League of Women Voters Greater Omaha already on. We do also have the Nebraska League of Women Voters. I have been contacted by the National League of Women's Voters, and I know several of their board members are on the platform watching to see what we are building. So that's really exciting that we have that support. After this, whoever is in charge of the League of Women Voters for Lancaster County, I would happily be able to visit with you and get your organization account onboarded too if you'd like to. We have quite a few civic organizations. We have people that are coming on board from all parties to be able to use this. The nice thing is that your elected officials and your candidates, those are shown to you by territory. The rest of these, you can build your own checkerboard of who you want to follow and receive information from. And remember, again, you can mute people, you can delete yourself if it's not a person that you're a constituent to. So if you decide there's an organization that you no longer want to follow, just on any other social media, you can disengage and unfollow yourself as well. And then last but not least, I was at a meeting probably about 6 months ago, and I had a church that was exhibiting on each side of me. And the pastor stopped me before we left, and they said, we are looking, both churches independently, we're looking for communication tools to talk to their membership. And the one pastor said, I've been hearing you talk all day long about how you have built the communication tools and the people. And he said, the members in my church are the same people as who should be on your platform for voting. And he said, do you think I could use your platform to also engage with my members about church things? And that is when I stepped back and started realizing, well, why don't we make life that easy? Why don't we reposition to now to support civic plus community engagement? So myself, I can build my checkerboard around me of what businesses I want to follow, what schools I want to follow, what nonprofits I want to follow, what churches or Girl Scout troops or Rotary clubs. We've had plenty of different organizations reaching out to figure out how can they use this platform. All right, next, so we're going to leave the topic of connect and head into outreach. And this is really about how can our elected officials outreach to us? How can you even say and contact our team and say, could you pull on this topic? So yes, we do have a citizen poll submission link now where you as an individual can write into us and say, would you pull on these topics? And that helps us a little bit to see things that we may not be looking at, but we're learning what's important to you, and then we can determine how we can help facilitate that. So some examples, again, of how our elected officials' platforms work. You can see that this particular organization is using their announcements. They had an open poll. We did a membership survey for them. And that's certainly something we can do for the league as well. If you wanted to run a membership survey, that would be something easy to put through. And then all of your marketing that you're putting out through newsletters, announcements, you can just paste into here, and then all of your followers, whether they are members or non-members, can receive that information as well. So we have created our own full feed, just like you're scrolling on Instagram, you're scrolling on Facebook, you can now scroll on Poll the Vote. And all the organizations that you are choosing to follow, as they are putting out information, it will roll up to your feed. Here's the cool thing, there's no ads. We also don't have commenting. And we have done that purposefully because our elected officials have actually requested us not to allow commenting and turn that on. So right now we have not done that. That might be something that we change into the future. But as I've said to the elected officials, if we would ever turn on commenting and direct engagement onto the posts, we would give people the option at an organization level to say no commenting if that is something that they would like to do. But people have said to me, it's refreshing. You don't have to scroll past ads. It is just the people that you are following. And another thing that drives me crazy is when I'm on social media and I see something and I want to go to it, but it says 2 days ago, 1 week ago. Well, too late, right? We've missed that particular event. So we do not have ad serving, and ad serving or post serving is when, let's say, Facebook decides which of the most important feeds are coming to you that they're going to show you because they can't show you everything because they got to squeeze some ads in there. With us, we don't squeeze ads in there. So it is all of your information coming in. We are also creating a calendar tool. So, as elected officials, candidates for office, organizations have events, they will be able to post up their events and put it on your calendar. I call it the old school calendar from when I was a little girl. My mom had it on the refrigerator. I'm sure some of you did as well, right? And that was the whole management process for our family. So we're digitizing that thought process and allowing organizations to populate your calendar, and you can say if you want to go or if you don't want to go. All right, another big thing you can do, our elected officials can do on our platform is collect your sentiment. That's the whole base of my dream. I wanted to be able to have a safe place that I could render my sentiment, that my personal name was stripped from it, and that people weren't able to call each other out and make fun of each other or make people feel badly for what their belief system is. So we've created a space for people to be able to provide that sentiment in that manner. I had mentioned before that we have a candidate that is doing a digital town hall. We're calling it LD2. I want to hear from you. And there was one day I was going through his results and I called him and I said, "Have you looked at your feedback that you're getting from your constituents?" And one of the questions specifically that he asked was, "What would you like to know from me in order to determine how you're going to vote?" And people were submitting information and questions to him. So I said to Jaden, why don't we do a candidate chat Saturday morning? Let's get on video. And I'm going to ask you these questions, just like the candidates submitted, the actual verbiage that came in. And I'd like you to answer them. And then let's put that video out to your constituents so they can see you are listening and you're providing answers back. So that is something that we did do to support him. And again, remember, I am willing to do that with all candidates. We are nonpartisan over here. So if you are a candidate or know of a candidate and they would like to integrate with our people that are on our platform, certainly please reach out to me. Next thing, the analyzation. This is where I get jazzed. Numbers are my juice, as I tell my students. And by the way, I do teach in the College of Business. I'm known for entrepreneurship and innovation, but I also teach market research and survey sentiment collection. And I do a lot of feasibility and community surveys for different businesses and communities across Nebraska. So you can kind of understand a little bit about how ironically this idea that I had to solve my own political problem turned out to be in my wheelhouse after all. So, how did we create the company? I realized at the end of the day, it's the data, it's the results that are coming through our platform that we need to get out to our elected officials. And that's why at the end of the day, we're a data analytics company. Our actual company name is Ideologics Insights. We are the first company that just entered into a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce here in Omaha and Scott Data Technology Center. And we are out of the basement, people. We have moved into the office. So we do have an office inside Scott Data Technology. I have a team of 6 people right now, and I need to hire more people because we are already that busy. So it's pretty exciting. But let me get to the data. So in January, when we quietly launched, one of our test polls that we did was on the Electoral College voting system. And we knew that there was going to be a bill or a bills going into the legislature in January. So we were able to collect feedback and kind of make our community presence known when we went to testify. But this is the important thing. We testified as neutral. Remember, we're nonpartisan. I went down and I read the results in to what the people of Nebraska told us. I don't tell the senators what to do with that data. I am just simply bringing the data forth. We did 3 legislative bills last year through our beta test, the winner take all, LB3. We did LB 89, Stand with Women Act, and then we did LB 677 amendment, not the bill. And the bill was the mirror to the ballot initiative, so there was no reason for me to pull on the bill. But when the hearing committee made what they called the consensus amendment, which changed the ballot initiative by 8 topics, then we pulled on those singular 8 topics to ask Nebraskans, how do you feel about the ballot being changed by these 8 topics and the bill that was then going to go to the floor for debate? So I was able to go down and again testify as neutral and share the results that were coming in through our platform. You can see that the information that you do provide when you create your account is all anonymized. I don't sell and give away your identifiable information. People, I hate it when people sell my information and use, and I question about why am I giving you this information? So I knew I needed to create a system that was secured, that you would trust, and that you knew really represented you and was able to lock down and separate your persona. We spent almost a year creating just that software mechanism. We started prototyping in August of 23. I went down and I presented this concept to the Nebraska Department of Economic Development, and I am one of a few female tech entrepreneurs in the state of Nebraska that did receive a grant through the Business Innovation Act to help start the funding and the startup of this prototyping. So I'm very, very thankful for the Business Innovation Act funding that came to us in 23 to help us get started. Um, they saw that if we could get this up and running, that meant that the young people who that leave our state due to brain drain and they love technology might just stay here and work for us. I have targeted that if we can get Nebraska really using the platform, I'm probably going to be looking about 40 really good jobs of technology and data analysts that are going to need to be supporting just Nebraska alone. But if we start having the other states, especially at the governor level or state senator level or city level, start participating, my new job creation projection could go as high as 500 new jobs sitting right here in Omaha. So we're pretty thrilled about that. But we're able to provide the reports by senator district. And one of the things that I've had senators comment to me about is they like seeing this detail of level. They like to see how people are reporting for and against, and by persona, by geography, and being able to really help themselves. I believe we were called anecdotal storytelling data. We'll take it. The day that Senator Juarez took our report, you can see she has it in her hand, and she started reading our data into a live legislation debate. And it went on 3 times. We had people referencing our data on the floor of the legislature this last year. And it was very humbling. I want you to know that there were actually 19 Nebraskans that worked behind the scenes over the last 2 years to create this. And we were between crying and cheering that the system actually was working and being used by our elected officials. So, since the legislature ended in June, we have continued to do some testing. We did do an interim study for Senator Juarez. I'm getting ready for her report to come out public. But you can see how, again, we're being able to show her the demographics of where people came and participated and by gender, education, age, income. So I want you to understand when you're creating your account and we're asking you those questions, how we're using it, but how we're anonymizing and protecting your personal level sentiment. The next one that we just did was with the City of Omaha City Council. Here in Omaha, we ran Councilman Harding put a ordinance on for the homeless to create a encampment ordinance that would um, allow our police to be able to have a different level of caring for the encampments beyond just trespassing. And it was interesting, we ran this over 3 rounds because the ordinance it was over many meetings. And each round was a meeting where they were talking about it on the agenda. This is the final. So at the end of the final round 3, we actually created now a vote tracker. So that's our new thing, because people would write into me and they would say, okay, what were the poll results and how did the people vote? And so we started now putting those two things together. So we have a historical comparison where you can go and see by, in this case, city council district, what they voted. And then to the right, you can see what the poll results were that came in. Again, remember, we do not tell our city council how to vote. We just simply bring in the voices of the people and we let them determine that on their own. All right, a little bit more information that we gave to the city council. So you can see the overall and how we broke it down by district, whether they opposed it, opposed it, supported it, or were neutral. And then we also pulled out by state senator because we thought perhaps our state senators might want to know what their constituents were saying as well. Well, this was a fun one. Another example of how we're getting beyond typical politics. I did get to work with Jennifer Pittner, the Kearney County assessor. And if this is bringing on up to 8,000 new homes from CD3. So we're really, really excited to support her with this community survey. They have a problem. If you've ever been to their beautiful town hall square, they're known as Christmas City, and the dome that's on top of the town hall is actually collapsing, it's rusting. And they either need to raise money to fix it or they're going to have to take that dome part off, which will change the whole downtown view and their Christmas City. So Jennifer is using our platform to collect public sentiment on what do people want to do. And I think that's just amazing that they're taking the opportunity to talk to people and get their opinions and then be able to use that in the county board. Will decide what to do. And if they do decide to go forth with a fundraising campaign, then the local chambers and the foundations will come in and they will run that for them. So we're super honored to be able to do this. Likewise, I also have another city that is doing a feasibility study right now that is on whether or not they should build a new community center in their small town. So we are getting ready to host that for them as well. And just those little opportunities of hosting for those cities on our platform allows those one singular residents of that territory to then be exposed to all the tools that are within Pull the Vote. So it's nice how people can grow and use the different processes. All right, I'm going to check my time. I'm about 12:37 it says, which we're just about at the end and probably has some time for some questions. So I wanted you to be able to meet our people. I know I'm only one person, but I'm very privileged to have a really good team of people. Myself being in the college setting, I was able to hire quite a few interns, and we have interns that have so far come from UNL, UNO, Creighton, and Metro. And we just had our first graduate, and he is now also our first full-time hire. So I'm pretty excited that we were able to start with the full job creation process by taking our interns and pathing them through a good career process. So I completely appreciate you for listening to me in your time. If you'd like me to go over to the live platform and demo it at all, I sure can. Otherwise, I tried to put enough screen pictures in here to my presentation so you could get a good feel about how the platform works and looks. From there, are there any questions for me that I might be able to help people with? This is my favorite part, talking to people.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for doing such a lovely job creating a platform that really does help people learn more about their elected officials and community engagement, right?
Yeah,
So we're going to go first through the chat because there were some questions as you were talking.
sure,
We saw a few about funding, and then we'll get into some of the other questions that people have as well.
sure,
So
absolutely.
I'll bundle all of the funding questions together.
Okay.
One is, how do you do funding for Poll the Vote? Do you get grants or solicit donations, or is it just pro bono? I also said I have the same question without advertising. How is this platform funded?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
a question just came in that was the original grant from the state was $75,000. And I'd like to know how you are generating revenue to build this out and hire staff.
Sure, absolutely. So we just created our first revenue. I purposefully have done everything pro bono this year because I wanted to make certain that our platform had what I considered to be valuable value, right? That we could charge for that. So we have just started taking on customer work now and earning revenue for that. When I received the grant for the $75,000, I'm going to be very honest, we went through that in 3 months in prototyping. Technology creation blows my mind at how expensive it is. I did have internal people who were working on our team. I had volunteers that came out of the woodwork that just liked the passion project. But then I also hired Apsky, which is a very well-known Omaha strategic tech company. And that really is where most of the initial grant money went to, was to have their professional guidance in coming in. I don't know if anyone has asked about security, but I will absolutely share this story that every single time we would have meetings, every Friday, people, for the last 3 years, my team, the Apsky team, we get together either in person or by Zoom. And in our first months of 2023, a lot of the questions that were coming to me were, Heather, we can do, whatever topic we happen to be creating on at the moment. Do you want to do option A or option B or option C? And my answer was always, which one is the most secured? Don't tell me about price. Tell me about which one is the most secured. Because if this goes where I think it's going to go, this could become an issue of national security. And I want to make certain that we've invested from the front end in the right way to do the right things for the people's voices. And I'm so glad that we did that, because people, the first day that our security caught a bad actor, like, we were like, woohoo, it worked. And it's one of those things that I'm sad to say that it happened, but I'm glad that we've really invested in the infrastructure up front.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I now have a cybersecurity intern from Metro, and we're also working with another cybersecurity professor at UNO who's helping us a little bit to make certain that we are up on everything we need to know. But back to funding. So we're what's called a it's interesting because I'm not sure, is it a pause or a PAS, but SaaS is something that you might have heard of. SaaS is SaaS, which is software as a service. Well, we're a PaaS, PaaS, platform as a service. That means that we are getting ready to come out with our subscription model. So the organizations on the account, instead of having a budget that they're allocating for advertisement, and then you and I as individuals getting jumped up with advertisement all over the platform, instead, the organizations will enter into a subscription model with us. So no differently than how you'll have a subscription model to use Constant Contact, a subscription model to use SurveyMonkey at a professional level. So that's the exact same way. So my theory is, if we've got majority of people paying a little bit, then we can all use the platform.
And so that would be the community organizations and the candidates' offices paying to, be on the platform, to
Yes.
host a poll, to get some data
Yes.
analysis. Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, yes, and that takes away the advertisement view, right? So we have a
Mhm,
total different experience with that.
mhm. And so for people who are interested in joining, totally free for us.
It is totally free for you as individuals. We did take a page from Wikipedia. I was shocked, actually, when we were doing our research, to learn that every year, sit down, Wikipedia earns $265 million, $1 at a time. So every time you're on Wikipedia and you get that flash up that says, would you like to donate $1, $2, $3 to our cause? They're earning $265 million to support that platform and try and keep it free as they can. So we have created a donate button. We don't market it. We don't ask for it. If we've had people who have actually used it and donated to us, which we are so appreciative for. But right now, we are self-funded and definitely ready to turn on the subscriptions here.
Well, and I was going to ask you, because I saw the donate button next to the county electioners page, and I thought,
Yeah.
are we donating to the county election commission? but we would be donating to the platform.
Yes,
Okay.
if you use our donate button, which is at the top of our actual technology platform or at the bottom of our home webpage, that comes to us. And that's clear. You'll see our donate page that pops up, not theirs. But in converse of that, I've had elected officials ask me, can we collect donations through your platform? We decided that we did not want to get into the merchant processing process of that. So instead, we have allowed them to do backlinks to their external donation pages so that they're connecting, right? So you can go from their candidate page to their donate page hosted on another platform. But I've strategically chosen to stay out of the money collection.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Tim Shaw, taking us in a bit of a different direction.
Okay.
And Tim is asking about how you are creating the website and the platform to be accessible for people with disabilities. So if you could
Thank
talk
you.
about some of that design, we'd appreciate
Yeah.
it.
No, thank you. Thank you so very much. I don't speak of this often, but I am a person of disability myself. And being a professor, I have many students that are um, faced with challenges in their learning, technology access and use. And so these were all things that were incredibly important to me when we worked into this. First, let's talk about language. Our entire website and our entire technology is interfaced on language translation with the Google Chrome and Firefox. And I'm so excited for that. That means that people can go up and change their language, or if they already have their browser defaulted on a specific language, our website and our technology will interface with that right straight up. So that was one thing we wanted to do on the language side. In regards to typical accessibility issues that you see, you're usually looking at color orientation, size of words, where people have the ability, right, to make those words to be larger. I'm working on right now having to make certain that our content can be read through a language translator for people who are listening and have things read to them. And that could be people who have a sight disability or not. Like sometimes I like for, instead of reading a book, I like to have a book read to me. So those are all things that are near and dear to my heart that we've been working on. I actually, in my background, I worked with the Nebraska Department of Workforce Development specifically for people who were disabled later in life. So, for example, they had a car accident or they had a genetic disease that might have impacted them later in life, and they could go through a state program to get retraining on how to be a small business owner. And I can't tell you the joy of meeting people across the state of Nebraska to help them to be able to get back to work and have a new career. So please know I take accessibility very seriously and am working on that.
I think that's really wonderful, and especially as accessibility affects so much of people's ability to
Yes,
engage with politics, to
yes,
represent themselves, to advocate for themselves,
yes,
the accessibility of polling places. This is all really important. So I'm really glad to hear
absolutely.
this.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question is one from me because I'm in my life also professor, also, in quantitative data, right? So
Okay.
one of my questions is about, I think it's really great that legislators and decision makers are using some of the data from the polls
Yes.
and from your platform in their debates. Fantastic.
Hmm.
Not all
This lady's
Nebraskans
telling us
are
how.
on poll the vote yet, right? And so my question is really about how do you, or what guidance does poll the vote provide these legislators in
Yeah.
talking about, well, Nebraskans say,
Right.
which Nebraskans, right? So if you can talk
Right.
with us about, do these decision makers have access to, the broad demographics as
Yes.
of their user base as they compare to their district? We'd
Yes.
appreciate that.
No, I appreciate that clarification question. We do not just send to them 74 people are for and others are against, and then that's it. That is not who we want to be. We are clearly representing the people's voices, and this is a very serious thing that I know that we're caring for over here. So we not only provide the totality reports, but we've been breaking it down for them, and we provide a persona a snapshot of the people that participated so they can understand where they came from geographically and their persona averages. And when I say persona, it could be things like age, gender identity, ethnicity, income, education. And please remember, people, we mask all of that for you. Your personal answers are not given to them. That stays locked down. And in fact, that's another method that we are patent eligible, is just even in our methodology of how we're separating and securing that individual data that comes in. But our elected officials, they receive the overall results, they receive the geographic, the demographic, persona information. And then sometimes I'll have an elected official who will call and they will ask for maybe a little bit more deep dive or clarification. So we're getting better about what information is most useful to them and trying to provide that right up front. When I send these reports, I usually send an email that snapshots for them the overall results. So if there's some interesting things that we are seeing that are popping out, I'm trying to give them a set of bullets that they could go to quickly and see the most important information that's out there. But all 49 state senators get it. All 7 city council people get it. Again, we are not, working on one side or the other. We're getting the information out to everybody.
Great, thank you very much.
Mhm.
We have a question from Mary Lee Moulton, and I'm going to sort of add a little bit to this. One, are there any ways that you see any of the AIs, because AI is a catchphrase for many different kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
Do you see any way that any of the AIs will be used by your company?
We will never work with someone else's AI software. That is a strategic decision that we made, because as soon as we bring in another AI's off the shelf third party software, we're opening up the door for that information to transfer out of our platform. So the first important answer is we will not do that. That is why I was so excited. I had met with our tech team many times about AI integration, because there's generative and formulative information that can come out of our database that our eyes aren't looking at, right? I might be looking at a poll result, but what if it can catch a trend of how people are changing or shifting, right? All of that can be formulated through AI generation. And we were prepared to invest in the creation of our own AI generative overlay on the back end of our database until something fun happened. I learned that Scott Data Technology had just licensed a AI software program called Seeker, and that is the program that the Omaha Chamber of Commerce and the Scott Data had entered into, and they are looking for Nebraska companies like ours that need a AI tool, and they don't want to spend the money and time to create it, but I don't want a third party platform, and I don't want an open door. So that's specifically why we went into that partnership. We're now in Scott Data, and Scott has the singular license on the Seeker program, but I'm able to sub-license it and set it right on top of our platform. There's no doors. So it does not go outside of the box of our platform. And that allows me to have all the tools. As soon as we get it going, I'm super excited to see what it's going to churn out.
I appreciate that, again, your ideas about privacy and security really do
Yes.
carry through to all of the
Yes.
decisions that you were making about how are you setting up the structure of this
Mhm.
platform, both in terms of user interface and user experience and on the back end as well.
Correct. Thank you so much. That's
Yeah.
that I'm not joking when it became a joke. They would say, we have to tell you the 3 options, but we know which one you're going to pick, but we just feel like we need to tell you the 3. And I'd be like, fair enough. What are they?
Mhm.
And my answer always went back to what was best for the data, the people of Nebraska, the people of the
Mhm.
United States, because I've got to be able to protect that.
Okay, well, we are going to wrap up with one final important question from Nancy
Okay.
Gregory, which
Okay.
is, how do I join? So if you could please run through
Sure. I've
the
actually have the
pieces of
QR code
info
up on the
that we did on there,
screen.
that'd be
If
great.
No, thank you so much, Nancy. That's a fabulous question to wrap up with. We do have our QR code up on the screen. You can certainly zap that with a phone or a device, camera, if you've got that available. Otherwise, please go to pollthevote.com and in the upper right-hand corner, there's a login button. You can click that and it will take you to the option to create a new account if you haven't already. Or in the middle in different spots, there's get started, there's a create a new account. So there's plenty of different pathways as you're on the website. And I will tell you, we're relaunching a new website that will be out before the legislature starts. So don't get too married to the current website. It's going to completely have another overhaul here before we get going again in January.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody out there. I
Mhm.
appreciate it. And feel free to reach out to me as well. I can put my email and phone number into the chat. So let me stop sharing here so that I can do that.
Great. And then Paula will take us home.
Thank you, Heather. It was really interesting and lots of information. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be looking at your website after this session. So just a couple announcements. Our Lunch and Learn speaker on December 4th will be Kim Morrow. She's with the City of Lincoln, and she'll be giving us an update on the City of Lincoln sustainability plan. So look forward to that. Then, if you're inspired to make a difference in our democracy, consider joining our Lincoln and Lancaster League. If you're not already a member, visit our website at lincolnleague.org. So again, thank you very much, Heather, for all that you've shared with us. Thank you, Amanda, for monitoring and helping with the chat questions. And if there's nothing else or other further announcements, I think we're ready to bid adieu.
Thank you, everybody. It was nice to chat with you.